Yes, sir. Let's go. All right. We are live again. Reacting to night 2. There we go. Reacting to night 2 of the draft. Yeah, man. It says I'm live, but it says my screen is black. What? Oh, there we go. All right, cool. There we go. Sick. All right, yeah. So I'm not even really gonna wait today. Yesterday I waited a little bit, let people get in here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get started because there's a lot of picks to go through, and it's already 11:30. And day 3, rounds 4 through 7, starts in 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. So starting off last night, the Browns. Everybody kind of thought, hey, Shedeur Sanders is going right here at 33 to the Browns, and he didn't. I'm not gonna say maybe this didn't shock me. I know people. There was a lot of analysts and stuff high on Carson Schwarzenegger out of UCLA. Um, uh, sorry, my bad, guys. I can't talk and type stuff at the same time. There we go. But yeah, I I was kind of surprised that they took him this early. I mean, linebacking need, yeah, that's true. And I know a lot of people are talking about, that there is a possibility that, Jeremiah Owusu Kamara's future is in a little bit of question. So I mean, this doesn't really surprise me that much. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick by the Browns. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about all, whatever 50, 60 picks that were made last night, probably. I'm going to talk about as much as possible. But yeah, then the Texans, they take Jaden Higgins. Does this surprise me? Yeah, a little bit. I thought that if they were going to go receiver there, that it was going to definitely be Luther Burden. Because they kind of need more of a slot role like Burden, whereas Jaden Higgins is like 6'4" and is kind of like an outside receiver, right? So that did surprise me a little bit. I didn't mind it though. I'm pretty high on Jaden Higgins, so I do like him, and I don't think it's a bad pick by the Texans there. This was the pick that this is their first pick of the draft because of the trade back with New York when New York came up to get Jackson Dart. 3, the Seahawks, they actually traded up here, and I'm going to try to remember as much as possible of who traded up last night because I was not watching this live. I was at a baseball game, but I was watching a live stream on YouTube from that franchise guy, just kind of seeing, who's coming in and stuff like that. But yeah, Seattle comes up and gets Nick Ebenwari. I thought it was a really good pick for them. I didn't really see the need for safety as much. I mean, they have Julian Love and Kobe Bryant, they moved back there from corner last year. But they did kind of need the depth at least. And maybe there's a thought process of, Julian Love might not be in the future plans because he's getting a little older. I mean, he's still relatively young, but yeah. 36, the Browns take Quinshon Judkins. Great pick. I had kind of called that he was going to be running back 3 off the board, and he ended up being running back 3 off the board behind, Genty and Hampton. So I thought that was a pretty good pick by them, and it sucks because, I'm obviously, as a Steelers fan, my biggest hated team is the Browns, and so it sucks seeing guys that you like in college and stuff like that go to these teams because it's like, dang, man, I wish we could have got Quinshon Judkins, or I wish he would have went to, a team that I don't really hate or like, like a Cardinals or something like that, right? 5, the Dolphins, they also traded up here. I'm pretty sure to get Jonas Ainaya out of Arizona. They announced him as a guard, which was kind of expected throughout this whole process. He was a tackle, at Arizona. but everybody kind of expected that he's going to end up playing guard. I was a little surprised he went this early because this was a guy that when this whole draft cycle started, I think I had this guy like in the first round, and that was really before, tape, watching any tape at all really, and seeing some guys. This is before Armand Membu was really like even in question in the first round or close to it. This is when like Josh Emmons was still like tackle one for sure. So yeah, I mean, I don't really surprised by this. I think my first mock draft of this draft cycle, I think I actually had Seattle taking Jonas Vainaya in the first round at 18. So that's interesting. But yeah, Dolphins needed that for sure. Patriots, they get TreVeyon Henderson at pick 38. That was a pretty good pickup. I know that franchise guy, when I was watching his live stream, did not like this. I don't mind it. I think that they could have definitely used a running back in this draft, especially how deep the class is. That franchise guy didn't like it because he said that TreVeyon Henderson is kind of like almost comparable to what they already had in their running back room, but I don't mind it that much. I don't think it was a bad pick by the Patriots. Bears at 39, they went and got Luther Burden. Pretty good pick. I think I was in the idea that the Bears should take a receiver at some point. I know a lot of people weren't. But I don't mind it. I really don't. I mean, if you look at it, right, if you look at the Bears depth chart and obviously, you got DJ Moore, you've got Rome Odunze, who you took in the first round last year. You lost Keenan Allen. Okay. So now Luther Burden can play that slot role for you. Okay. I mean, yes, they went and got Devin Duvernay, Miles Boykin, and Olamide Zaccheaus in the offseason. And they also have Tyler Scott, who was their 4th round pick in 2023. But it's just like, man, I don't mind this at all. When you got a guy like Caleb Williams, who you took with the first overall pick last year, who you're planning on being your quarterback for 10 plus years, right? And you got a receiver in the first round last year as well with him. DJ Moore's in what was he, 2018 draft? So this is like year 7, 8 for him now. I think it makes sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. This is a guy that you can draft and stick around with Rome Odunze, with Caleb Williams for years to come if he develops like he should, right? Saints at 40, shock everybody. I thought this was going to be Shedeur Sanders. They take Tyler Shough instead. I had saw reports on night one that it was like, hey, the Saints really like Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough over Shedeur Sanders. So this doesn't surprise me, I think, as most people. Because most people that are like casuals probably didn't see anything like that, probably didn't hear anything about that. And they're like, oh my gosh, they took Tyler Shough over Shedeur Sanders. This is insane. It didn't really surprise me. I know there was a lot of scouts really high on and analysts and stuff really high on Tyler Shough. I wasn't as much. I think I had him. What quarterback spot did I have him at? 5, 6, maybe 7, somewhere in that range. But I mean, I don't really think the Saints know where their organization's going in general. So whatever. Bills trade up. This was originally Chicago's pick. They get TJ Sanders. I don't think it's a bad pick. TJ Sanders is a guy that I floated into the first round a few times. Back into the first round, So I mean, I don't mind this for them. I definitely see the need for it. I mean, you look at their depth chart. And I know y'all can't see the depth charts I'm looking at, but I mean, you look at the Bills' depth chart and the interior defense line. You got DaQuan Jones, you got Ed Oliver. You brought in Larry Ogunjobi, who got slapped with a suspension immediately. Your defensive ends are Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa, who you brought in, AJ Epineza, Michael Hoyt, you brought in, who also got slapped with a suspension. I'll get to it later, but you also draft Landon Jackson. I think this really, really rounds out their defensive line well. Jets at 42 take the first tight end off the board, like in the second round at least. Obviously Warren and Loveland went in the first. There's Mason Taylor. This is kind of a later draft riser. Oh my gosh. This is a later draft riser, son of Jason Taylor, former Miami Dolphin legend. I can see it. He wasn't my tight end 3. I think he was my tight end 4, but I didn't mind it. And I think it's a good pick for the Jets. I mean, you go and you look at the Jets depth chart, and it's like, hey, we've got Jeremy Ruckert and Stolen Smart. Ooh, like so cool, right? Especially when you're trying to build up this offense more and more because you just brought in Justin Fields, right? You want to have these weapons for him. You solidified the offensive line last, in night 1 by getting Armand Membu, right? You got Garrett Wilson, you got Alan Lazard, you went and got Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson in free agency. I think they could still use a receiver, but I think this is a good pick for them. Get a tight end. 43. Got to give the clap. Got to give a clap out for the 49ers taking my guy, Alfred Collins, out of Texas. I was very high on him throughout this process. He started getting some hype later in the draft process as well. But this is one of the first guys I watched. I think Texas was one of the first teams that I watched this year. Matter of fact, Texas and Michigan were the first 2 teams I watched this year. And I was watching Alfred Collins against Michigan's offensive line, which is not a bad offensive line, and he's just dominating them the whole time. And I was like, wow, this dude's good. And I also saw Vernon Broughton, who I'm going to talk about later. I think he got drafted in the 4th round, who was right beside him, his running mate, who was their nose tackle at Texas, who was also really good. And I was just like, wow, both these guys are good, right? So I didn't know if he would go this early. I was mocking him this early. This is what my grade I had on him was like early 2nd rounder. And so I'm really glad to see him have went this early. 44, the Cowboys. They went Donovan Ezeraku. That was a pretty decent pick by them. I think they could have used like an edge, at least like a depth piece there. You've got Micah Parsons. You went and got Dante Fowler in free agency. You've got Marshawn Kneeland. They went and got Peyton Turner in free agency as well, who sorry, I'm trying to readjust my laptop. It was falling down. They went and got Peyton Turner in free agency as well, who was a former 1st-round pick. Still got Sam Williams. So I think this really rounds out that room well for them. Smaller guy. A lot of people are projecting him 1st round. I had him going 1st round in my predicted mock because of the, hype and everything that he was getting. I thought he was actually going to go 1st round. I didn't have him that high. I had him more as a mid to early 2nd round guy, but yeah, I mean, they go and get him. Not bad by them. Colts take JT Tuamoli out. Not really surprised by this. This is the type of edge rusher that they like. So, I mean, I'm really not surprised by that at all. Thought it was a pretty good pick by them. Rams at 46, they take Terrence Ferguson. This was their first pick of the draft due to the trade with the Falcons, where they did pick up an extra 1st rounder in that, obviously, but traded back like 20 spots. But not bad. I think this is a very good pick by them, though. This is the type of tight end that they like. They like those kind of like more athletic tight ends, so I don't mind this at all. You still got Tyler Higbee, who is entering year 9 or 10 now. So you can learn behind him a little bit. You still got Colby Parkinson in there. You still got Davis Allen. I think it's a very good pick by them. Just an athletic tight end, to add to that high-powered offense with Sean McVay. Cardinals at 47. I'm going to say the same thing I said in my live stream yesterday talking about the Chiefs getting Josh Simmons. This could be one of the biggest steals of the draft if Will Johnson is actually healthy. This might actually be the biggest steal of the draft if he's actually healthy. Sorry, guys. I don't know why my voice keeps going up. But Will Johnson. This was a guy, I think everybody knows about Will Johnson, right? He was a top 5 surefire. That's the word. Surefire pick. That's bad. Surefire 1st round guy. And then all of a sudden, injury concerns and tape last year was a little lackluster. And it's like, oh man, I don't know if Will Johnson's going 1st round anymore. And a lot of people were kind of mocking him in that like 16 to 32 range, that latter half of the 1st round. And, I mean, yes, the biggest position I think that I have injury concern problems with is the cornerback position. Like if you have injury concerns and it's something important, like Benjamin Morrison with his knee or with his hip injury, Will Johnson with his knee injury history, Those always make me nervous. Always. And I tend to drop those guys. Go back and watch my first mock draft from this year. I think I had Will Johnson going 7th to the Jets potentially. I had him going top 10. And I end up with him going 15th to the Falcons in my predicted mock draft 2 days ago on draft day. And, that was still, I felt like it was a little early. And a spot I had him going a lot, not even in my videos, but when I'm playing around with the mock draft simulator, just on random days, on phone calls with my friends, whatever, I had him going at 16 to the Cardinals. I thought it was a great fit for him to get him at 15th overall, 47th overall in the second round. Really good pick by them. If he's healthy, this is the steal of the draft, 100%. Texans, 16 or 48th overall. They actually trade up here, I'm pretty sure. I don't think this was originally their pick. Then they ended up trading up. They get Ariante Ursery. I thought it was a really good pick by them because when they were on the clock here at 34th overall, I was like, hey, they might just have to go ahead and take Ariante Ursery because he was kind of like the last, he's one of the last tackles that I feel super comfortable with. He actually is the last tackle I feel super comfortable with. There's a few more tackles that I'm like, okay, I could kind of feel comfortable with these guys. But man, to get him at 48, come up and get him, I thought that was a great move by them, especially with, they had offensive line struggles last year. You trade Laramie Tunsil, and you bring in Cam Robinson, and it's like, eh. And in that, they also trade for Ed Ingram. They bring in Trent Brown. They bring in Laken Tomlinson. And it's just like, eh. You trade Kenyon Green, right? Which he wasn't that good last year anyways. But, you look at their starting offensive line per hour lads right now. Cam Robinson at left tackle. Titus Howard at left guard. Jarrett Patterson at center. Juice Scruggs at right guard. Blake Fisher at right tackle. And you're just like, man, I don't know about that, right? So to go get a guy like that who I think could end up having starter potential, I think it was a really good move by the Texans. Demetrius Knight Jr., I had played around with the Bengals, drafting Shad Campbell in the first round and drafting a linebacker. I thought it was definitely a need by them, so I thought it was a good move by them to go get my linebacker 3, unless you count Jalen Walker. 10-4, I guess. Seahawks, 50th overall. Go get Elijah Arroyo. Great move by them. I had been looking at them taking a tight end in the second or third round, just because, you look at their tight end depth chart and you're like, Noah Fant has been underwhelming. AJ Barner didn't have a bad year as a rookie last year as a 4th-round pick. Good pick by them. I know a lot of people are high on Elijah Arroyo, especially after the Senior Bowl. Panthers at 51 get Nick Scourton. I think this was originally Denver's pick, so they did trade up here to get him. Thought it was a really good move by them. They got a good edge rusher who had been mocked in first rounds a lot. Thought it was a great pick by them. And it was like I said, you get Tate McMillan at 8, you just hit the defense rest of the draft. Titans at 52. This was a trade up. This was originally the Steelers pick that was in the DK Metcalf trade. So it was Seattle's, then the Titans trade up for it. They get Olu Oladejo out of the edge rusher out of UCLA. Didn't think this was a bad pick by them either. And especially because they could have used an edge rusher. Now, Mike Green was still on the board here. I don't mind Nick Scourton over Mike Green that much. I don't mind Ezaraku or JT Tuamoliau over Mike Green that much. But Oladejo over Mike Green, yeah. But I understand that there's more going on with Mike Green than meets the eye, I'm pretty sure. Benjamin Morrison at 53rd overall to the Buccaneers. Man, what a good pick by the Bucs. With Will Johnson sitting on the board at 19. I talked about this in my live stream yesterday. Will Johnson sitting on the board at 19. I thought that they were going to for sure take him or Malachi Starks. And now you get a guy who, if he's healthy, is kind of like Will Johnson, kind of like Josh Simmons. If he's healthy, he's a first-round talent, and you get him at 53. Really good pick by the Bucs there. Packers at 54 take Anthony Belton. They did announce him as an offensive tackle. There was rumors that he might end up being a guard at the next level, so in the NFL. So I'm interested to see what they actually do with him announcing as an offensive tackle. I would like to see because their offensive line, you've got Walker, you brought in Aaron Banks and a big contract at left guard. So they're slotting Anthony Belton in as a backup left tackle on our lads. So interesting to see there for sure. 55, the Chargers take Trey Harris. I thought this was amazing. I thought this was a really good pick. I was always really high on Trey Harris throughout this process. Again, this was another guy that had injury concerns, but man, you got Mike Williams, who I think Trey Harris and Mike Williams have some similarities. You brought back Mike Williams in after he was gone for a year or two with the Jets and the Steelers. Man, I can't lie. This could have been a really good pick by the Chargers here because I saw the need for wide receiver for them. If he ends up hitting and you got him, Quentin Johnson, Ladd McConkey, who are all pretty young with Justin Herbert, woo, and Omarion Hampton, oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, that was actually a really good pick by the Chargers. 56, Ozzy Trapilo. I think this was also a trade. I think this was actually when the Bills trade up to 41, this was a pick in that trade, I'm pretty sure, because it was originally Buffalo's. Yeah. So Ozzy Trapilo, offensive tackle out of Boston College. This is a guy that I did not get around to watching, I will say. So I can't really comment on it too much. But not bad by the Bears. Get some depth on the offensive line for sure. Lions get Tate Ratledge. Was this a trade? I don't think this was a trade, but it could have been. This could have been a trade. I'm not 100% sure there. But good pick by the Lions. This is definitely a guy I could see end up developing on that offensive line and being good for them. They're actually slating him to be their starting right guard on our lads over Christian Mahogany. So that's interesting to see. I think there's potential that is the case. I'm not gonna lie. Jack Bech to the Raiders. I wasn't as high on Jack Bech as most, but I don't blame them for going at receiver. I definitely saw the need. Ravens get Mike Green at 59. Like I said yesterday, man, it's just every year, there's some type of talent that just falls to the Ravens' hands. Malachi starts in the first round. Mike Green, who was a projected first rounder almost consensusly. Now, I do know that there is some stuff off the field with Mike Green that could potentially be a problem, and I'm going to assume that this is why he probably fell this far. But, man, if he's fine and he ends up being what he's projected to be, what people project him to be, Ravens just got another steal, man. Broncos at 60 get my guy RJ Harvey. I didn't mind this pick. I will say this, though. I definitely saw the need for running back for them. And I like RJ Harvey. But I feel like this is kind of counterintuitive because I feel like he's almost like a Jaleel McLaughlin. Now, he has a high upside as a receiving back. So I didn't mind it that much. But, yeah, I mean, not a bad pick by the Broncos at all. Commanders get a guy that I was projecting them to take in the first round a few times in Trey Amos at 61. What a pick by them to get Trey Amos at 61. Very good pick by the Commanders. Definitely needed a cornerback, and they got a guy that I think had first-round potential. Bears at 62 get Shamar Turner. I wonder if this pick must have also been in that trade because I remember the Bills having two second-round picks. Shamar Turner is a guy that I watched a little bit of, kind of watching Shamar Stewart more so. He's fine. I think he's definitely a decent depth piece at least. But I'm not sure about starter upside from Turner, so to say. Chiefs get Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee at 63. I don't think it's a bad pick by them either. I think the need was for sure there. So to get him, pretty decent. And the Eagles get Andrew McCuba at 64. Really like this pick by the Eagles. Looking at their depth chart, I mean, they've got like the deepest team in the NFL anyways, obviously. But they're projecting him to start at strong safety over Sidney Brown. That kind of surprises me a little bit, but I can see it happening. Andrew McCuba is very good. Then we're moving on to round 3. I'm going to move through those a little more quickly. We've got 6 minutes to the draft. Starts back up. Darius Alexander coming off the board early to the Giants. Really good pick by them. Ashton Gillott is not a Gillott or Galati, how you say it. Not a guy I got around to watching. I'm going to be honest with you. Interesting picks by the Chiefs. Browns get Harold Fannin. This is funny because this is a really good fit. Beside David Njoku in that tight end room, I think. I'm interested to see what the Browns do with him for sure. Raiders get Darian Porter at 68. That was a really good pick. I thought he was going to go earlier in the second round. So I thought that was a really good pick by the Raiders, especially with the need at corner. Patriots get Kyle Williams. Interesting. Probably maybe a receiver or two left on the board here, like Jalen Noel, that I probably would have taken over him, but not bad. Isaac Tesla went really early. I projected him to be kind of like a 4th, 5th round guy. So to see the Lions take him at 70 was interesting for sure, because I thought Jalen Noel is a great pick for them there. Vernon Broughton, I talked about earlier, I thought it was a great pick by the Saints. This is a guy that I thought was a slept-on prospect in the IDL, class of this draft cycle. Really good pick by the Saints, and the need was there too. The need was there. Bills get an edge rusher and Landon Jackson at 72. There was a lot of people high on Landon Jackson. I wasn't as high on him as most, but for them to get him at 72, man, that could be a steal for sure. Jets get Azariah Thomas at 73. Really liked him as a prospect. I know there were some people that liked him even more than I did, like early second round guy. Some even floating him in the first round at some points. I think he's got the potential to be good. Obviously, he's going to go slide in the room with Sauce Gardner, who's a really good corner. So I think he's got a chance to be good. Interested to see if he ends up as a starter for them or not. Broncos get Pat Bryant, the big receiver out of Illinois at 74. I thought it was an interesting choice by them. Really just attacking that offense, man. Really just attacking that offense by the Broncos. It's a guy that's probably going to get some looks this year. Obviously, you still got Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, and Devon Vele, and Troy Franklin. So interesting to see that there. Nick Martin out of Oklahoma State at 75 for 49ers linebackers, a guy I did not get around to watching, so I cannot say too much about him. Savon Revel at 76 of the Cowboys. I thought this was an amazing value for them. They needed a corner, and you got a guy that was potentially a first rounder. Now, this is another guy with Will Johnson, with Benjamin Morrison, that has some injury concerns. But man, if he's healthy, that's another steal right there. Panthers get Princely Emanuelan, how you say it, the edge rusher out of Mississippi. That was a great pick for them, man. Great pick. After getting Nick Skouerton, they're just loading up that edge room, which they needed help in. So, I mean, makes sense, right? And like I said earlier, you get Ted McMillan at 8 overall. Start taking them defensive players. And, you got DJ Wanham, who I'm not super high on. You still got Jadeveon Clowney. You brought in Patrick Jones from Minnesota this offseason. And you brought in 2 interior guys also this offseason. So I think if they attack interior now, I think they've got a really good draft on their hands, man. Cardinals get Jordan Burch at 78. They announced him as an edge rusher. I thought he was more of an interior defensive lineman. I might be thinking – no, I'm thinking of Jamari Caldwell. Sorry. No, yeah, Jordan Burch, edge rusher. I think he's really athletic. I watched a little bit of him while watching like Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell and Jeffrey Bassa, like that, Jabbar Muhammad, like that defense was deep. But yeah, man, I don't think it's a bad pick by the Cardinals. I could see the need, and it's an athletic guy for sure. Jalen Noel at 79 to the Texans. I thought this was super interesting because they took Jaden Higgins at 34, and now they go get his teammate in Jalen Noel, really just loading that wide receiver room down for C.J. Stroud. Colts get Justin Wally at 80. This is a guy that I didn't get to watch too much of, so I can't really comment on it too much. Bengals get Dylan Fairchild. There was a guard need. They go get a guard that has a little bit of starter potential out of Georgia. 82, the Titans get Kevin Winston Jr. I think this was a trade up. I'm not 100% sure, but man, Kevin Winston Jr. There's a lot of talent in that player. I will say, will he reach it? Who knows? But I think it's a really good pickup by the Titans. I mean, you look at their depth chart and in their secondary, you have Armani Hooker. You brought in Xavier Woods from Carolina. I think those are 2 guys that you're not like super high on, right? Now, I still see the need for corner for them, so I might would have went corner over Kevin Winston Jr., over safety. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine pick. My Steelers at 83 get Caleb Johnson. I really like this pick. This is a guy that I had going in my mock draft yesterday at 41, I think, to the Bears. So I thought it was a good value for him. I thought he was going to go a lot earlier than this. But I also think it's a good value because he's kind of more of that power back that we just lost in Najee Harris. So we can kind of pair him with Jaylen Warren and have that power back. So I think it's a really good pick by us at 83. 84 Buccaneers get Jacob Harris, smaller slot corner. I don't mind this one at all. Really just loading down that corner room. Got him, got Benjamin Morrison. Chiefs get Noah Williams out of Cal at 85 overall. Those are another decent pick. I saw the need. There's maybe 2 or 3 corners I might would have taken over him, though. Chargers get Jamari Caldwell at 86. Definitely needed it. Definitely needed an interior defensive lineman. I thought it was interesting because he's not bad. He's not great, but he's not bad. So I don't think it was a bad pick. Green Bay Packers get Savion Williams, the 6'5" receiver out of TCU. So they took Matthew Golden in the first round. This must really tell you where the Packers think about their receiving room. The injury history, I talked about that yesterday when I was going over their Matthew Golden pick. Injury history with Watson, Wicks, Doubs, Reed. All 4 of those guys have injury history, right? And let's be honest here. They haven't been great. I mean, Reed and Dobbs have been solid for them, but they haven't been necessarily great. Watson's shown some flashes. So to go get 2 receivers, that's a statement by the Packers for sure. But you get a 6'5" guy. He's 6'5", right? Out of TCU. Is he 6'4" or 6'5"? 6'4", sorry. Still, big target for them. Caleb Ramsaw, 88 to the Jaguars. Didn't mind this too much. They needed a corner. Again, there's probably some corners that I would have taken over him, but yeah. Jaguars back-to-back picks at 89 get Wyatt Milam. They did announce him as a guard, which was expected. He played tackle at West Virginia, but there was a lot of people saying that he's going to end up playing guard, and that's what they announced him as. 90, the Rams. They get Josiah Stewart. This is a guy that I had ranked high in that edge class, a lot higher than most people. I think this is an absolute slam dunk by the Rams. I mean, obviously, you've got Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner. You brought in Puna Ford, in that interior. You got Byron Young on the outside. You got Jared Verse on the outside. You had a dude that you drafted last year, I think, Brendan Jackson on the outside, right? But you bring in Josiah Stewart in this room, man. I think that really fills it out. I think it makes it deep, and I think Josiah Stewart's got a chance to be good. 91, Ravens get Emory Jones Jr., offensive tackle out of LSU. Not bad. Needed it, kind of like a depth piece. I think there's definitely some issues there, though, with Emory Jones that he's got to work on. 92, the Seahawks take Jalen Milroe. Wow. I could not believe this one. I had said before the draft, I don't think I ever said it in a video, though, but my top 3 landing spots for Jalen Milroe were the Jets, Seattle, and the Raiders. And Seattle actually goes and gets them. This is a solid addition to this quarterback room with Sam Darnold, Sam Howell, Drew Lock, right? Really solid addition. First pick must have just been made because it is 12-2. Sorry, I'm going to speed this up so I can get watching the draft. Jonas Sanker, a guy I didn't get to watch too much of. Fine. Browns taking Dylan Gabriel at 94 was insane. I did not expect that. But wow. He might start some games for them this year. Dylan Gabriel, really, really accurate guy. I'm just not sure how it's going to translate in the NFL level. It could translate good, but it could translate bad as well. I call him Michael Penix Jr. light because they're literally almost the same quarterback if you go and watch them. Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia for the Patriots at 95. I thought it was a really good pick by them. Falcons, I thought got amazing value here with Xavier Watts at 96. Really good pick by them. Can go learn from Jesse Bates. Houston Texans get Jalen Smith at 97. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's a bad pick. Raiders get Caleb Rogers at 98. Guy I didn't get to watch too much of, so I'm not going to really comment on that. But they go back-to-back with the offensive line. They get Charles Grant out of William & Mary. I think Charles Grant's got a chance to be good, man. I think he's got a chance to be a starter at the NFL level. So I thought it was a good pick by the Raiders. 49ers get Upton Stout at 100. This makes sense. This is their type of guy, man. This is their type of guy. This is the 49ers type of player. And at 101, Broncos take Savion Jones. Definitely some edge rushers left. I think that I probably would have took over Savion Jones, but I think he's got a depth piece potential at least. And then Ty Felton at 102 to the Vikings. Definitely some receivers I would have taken over him. But yeah, man, round 4 has officially started. Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Real quick, looking at some guys that I still like that are undrafted. No, stop, bro. Center. I don't mind Seth McLaughlin, Willie Lampkin, Jake Majors. Those three are interesting players for sure. Cornerback, I like Dorian Strong. I like Zy Alexander. I like Zy Frazier. Quincy Riley's an interesting name. Kobe Bryant, I kind of like. Jordan Hancock, interested, listed as a corner. DT, Joshua Farmer still there, and a lot of people are high on him. JJ Hughes, I'm fine with. Deion Walker, I'm fine with. Aeneas Peebles, I'm fine with. CJ West, I actually kind of like. Edge rushers, Jack Sawyer, Braden Swinson, definitely the two big names. So there, Kyle Kennard still there, David Walker, Jared Ivey's not too bad. Johnny Walker Jr. is a later round guy that I like. Guard, Marcus Bowes still there. I think it was interesting. Yeah, not too many guards though. Really. Kickers. No, I'm just kidding. Linebacker, Small Munden, Barrett Carter, Danny Stutzman, Cody Simon, Chris. I think this linebacker room is deep still. Out of like most positions. Cameron Williams still there at tackle. Chase Lunt, Johnny Cornelius, Carson Vinson. Quarterback, Shedeur obviously still there. McCord, Quinn, Will Howard, Seth Hennigan, I like. Running backs, Dylan Sampson still there is kind of surprising me. And then there's like Cam Scadaboo and like there's this running back class is deep. Running back class is definitely the deepest position group left for sure. Safeties, I don't mind Billy Bowman or Lathan Ransom. I like RJ Mickens. Yeah. And then tight ends, there's still some decent tight ends here. Mitchell Evans, Gunnar Helm, Jackson Hall is a good blocking tight end. Jake Bringenstool, Rondé Gadsden, I like as a later round guy. Wouldn't mind if the Steelers got him, even though we don't need a tight end. And then wide receivers, Jalen Royce there, Isaiah Bond, Dominic Lovett, Nick Nash, Elic Ayomanor. Elic Ayomanor and Shedeur Sanders, I think, and Dylan Sampson are my three where I'm like, wow, how are they still here? But yeah, man, that's it. That's it. And yeah, I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time. Yeah.